Hi, I'm Nicole Oman.
And I'm Ryan Oman.
And together we are the
Empowering
Empowering
Omens. And with the Golden Collective. And today is Insightful Saturday, the day of the third eye, or Ajna, infinite power.
Dun, dun, dun. And this week we are working on attraction. So we are wanting to attract what we resonate with in our lives. So as we're going through this week, we might have found that we are attracting certain things that irritate us and challenge us. And I think almost every day, or everyone that I've talked to this week has had a day where they have had a lot of things that come up. You know, one of those days where from the moment you wake up, it's like one thing after another, and after another.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you do?
I'm having that kind of day myself.
Yeah. What do you do when you're attracting that? That's really fun. We surrender. And so we also can take responsibility, but also not take it so far again personal. I think as we take things personally, that's when we start to suffer. That's when we start to attach to those things. And instead of doing that, let's give ourselves permission to not take it so darn personally and navigate it instead of attaching. Because life happens. Shit happens. I mean, I literally stepped in dog poop today. Shit happens. So do we take that personally and say, okay, this is how the day needs to be? Or can we just wipe the poop off the feet and go, shit happens? And when you navigate it, that's when it becomes a little bit more yes-anding what happens instead of coming up against massive resistance. And I think it's kind of coming up. So I wanted to just speak to the truth, speak to what is.
Yeah, and as we always do, we pull the cards dealing with what energy we've got of the day. And right now we pulled the past lives and the healing card. So we've got an opportunity today to do some healing of some past lives or some memories. You know, people have different opinions on past lives. I don't necessarily have a huge connection with any past life of my own. I've definitely dabbled a little bit in the past life theology, but ultimately, whether you really fervently believe in past lives or you don't believe in them at all, or you're somewhere in between, how does it serve you today? How does it serve you right now? And that's the real key, because if you're going to take a past life story that you have either really resonated with or someone's told you about, and you need to apply it to your current situation or your current life, how do you go about doing that? And I think that that's something that definitely deals with the third eye or the Ajna chakra, because this particular chakra deals with memories. Now, if we're talking about memories with past lives, that's when you start getting into the Akashic records. And that can really get into some more mind expansive stuff, which can be very great for opening up your third eye. But again, if you can't bring it back into the present, you can't bring it back to where you are now, it's going to be difficult to integrate in your current life.
I have a very personal connection with this on both fronts, actually, because I have had major past life memories and experiences. But I've also come across colleagues of mine that really love past lives. And sometimes when we see a photo or a snapshot, or we begin to get this feeling of a memory, what we do is we attach to that one small photograph and lose the understanding of the entire lesson. Okay. And so if you're using past lives and we're attaching to it and you're going, well, I had a past life with this person, that means they're my soulmate in this lifetime. Well, that might be the abusive boyfriend you had, and maybe it's not. And we're reliving old experiences instead of taking responsibility of what we want in this moment. And when we are dealing with attraction, a lot of times we will attract these past life relationship dynamics.
Right.
And when we feel like something is out of our control, so you might find a relationship dynamic that keeps swooping back in, or a person, one particular person that keeps swooping back in.
Or an archetype of a person. Or
an archetype of a person that swoops in. That is because we do have a certain web of karma. It's a karma, though, is a dharma. And it means it's a lesson. It's something that's here that we still need to look at so we can find empowerment. Our life's purpose, truly, when you break it down to anything, is just to feel empowered. And so if something is still sucking your power away, it's still an opportunity in this very moment to find a sense of peace, or a sense of empowerment, or a sense of courage, or a sense of strength, whatever that particular lesson is showing up for us, right? So every single person, like me and Ryan, have many intricate little lessons that we learn together. We learned communication, we learned how to deal with our anger, we've learned how to deal with temperament, and we still learn it from a day-to-day thing, and that's a karmic thing that helps us both rise and find our worth. Ryan's big past life lesson is about self-worth.
Yeah.
And so I was intact with some good self-worth as a child, from my childhood. And I help him with that. And he helps me with other things.
Yeah, in a much more mundane sense, maybe the past life is not actually a past life, but it's a memory. And you're dealing with memories that have happened when you were younger, as you grow older. Another way to think of it is that as we grow, we change. And we're literally not the same physical being we were 7 years prior, because our cells are constantly healing and replenishing and turning into new cells. So with that being a thought, you can think back to old memories and old traumas that you're continuing to play out today. That's a choice. So you have an opportunity when these things bubble up to the surface to decide whether or not you want to continue on that pattern, or do you want to break that pattern and move on into a new pattern. And I think that's something that we really want to focus on today, is breaking the patterns of old behavior, whether it's a past life or a memory of this current lifetime, whether it could be from childhood or from your teenage years or even young adult time. Whatever it may be, the point is we want to take our power back from those past patterns, and we want to kind of shake things up so that we can create the new patterns that we're looking to attract the things that we want now, as opposed to just this kind of subconscious taking over and allowing things to just kind of keep playing on this broken record.
Yeah, and if you want to know a little bit more about your past lives in this lifetime, look at your childhood. Your parents are a signature, the very signature of your past life karma. If you had hard parents, then you will always be working out this energy with the relationship to the masculine or feminine based off of your mother and father.
Right, yeah, the Tibetan Buddhists actually, they talk about the bardos. So in Christianity, they would call that
purgatory?
Purgatory, right, exactly. So essentially the idea is that when you die, the vibration that you're holding is what you're going to be attracted to in the next life. And there's the attraction, right? And this all happens in the subconscious. So at least what the Tibetans believe is that when you pass away, you fall into a dream state. Okay, and once you're in that dream state, you are totally, and that's when you can start to reincarnate, right? And if you reincarnate, you're going to reincarnate in the vibration that you left the world in, unless you are somebody who has practiced diligently, as the Tibetan Buddhists try to practice diligently, working with this subconscious energy, with these dream states, learning how to lucid dream, things like that.
Meditation.
Yeah, you're able to then, once you're in the bardos, or that dream state, transitioning from one lifetime to the next, you have the opportunity to select what you want to come in as. So as Nikki was bringing up this idea that your past lives are a reflection of your childhood, or your childhood is a reflection of your past life, that's essentially what's happening. The bardo that you were in now was the vibration that pulled you back into another family that had that same vibration. So it's a like attract like kind of an atmosphere. Now I realize we're getting way woo-woo here, but we are in the third eye, so you can fight it or you can go with it. But that's just the essence of what we're talking about today. And if you want to just boil it down to a much more mundane sense, let's just talk about patterning. And then essentially the patterning or the vibration. And
our patternings go past this particular signature of the body. There is a certain patterning that keeps happening.
Yes, energetic patterning.
And it's true. I mean, honestly, just look at relationship paradigms. I see that all the time. You might break up with a friend or break up with a relationship, but then you'll inevitably go into a similar loop or similar pattern with someone else.
Right.
Now, if you learned a bunch of stuff, it's not going to be as heavy. It might not be as rough as it used to be. Because you've already learned. So now you're on a different frequency and you're learning it. But we have to also embrace patterns a little bit, because we just learn that way.
Yeah.
And
I like to think of it like you're playing a video game. So if you've ever played video games, then you know there's always levels involved. You beat one level, you move on to the next level.
And it
but
gets
you're
easier
still
and harder.
playing the same game. So there's the same basic rules. Let's use Mario Brothers as an example. You know, you run, you jump, you step on a turtle, then you run and you jump and you hit your head on something and something comes out of it. Like
you get a mushroom and you grow.
These are the rules. Yeah, these are the rules that are maintained throughout the game. But every time you get to a next level, you're dealing with those same rules, but the context in which those rules are applied is different. And so you are taking the patterns or the lessons you learned from level 1 and bringing it into level 2. And I really believe that this human experience that we're having, this gross experience in this body, is very similar to that. As you level up, you're going to continue to see a lot of the same patterns, but they're going to be a slightly different version of that. And you can do that through relationships, you can do that through a new job, or you can do that through your creative endeavors, whatever it may be. Just remember, as you level up, as you move up this ladder, you are going to experience patterns, and those patterns, as you recognize them, because that's really what sets us apart from animals, is pattern recognition, you get to visualize what you want next. And so I think that's where we're really going to go with today with the meditation, is this visualization idea, and this idea that you may have to start with this purely imaginative experience where you're like literally coming up with something in your brain, like a kid, like imagine a house with the white picket fence in front of it, whatever it may be. And it may feel very superficial at first.
And it might feel archetypical. A lot of people keep, I hear it, especially in the spiritual community. I was Lancelot. I was Guinevere. I was Arthur. Well, this is a legend. It's a story. We don't know if these people actually existed on this particular plane of existence. Maybe in another dimension. I don't know. But you see a lot of people, I was Cleopatra and I was right? So there's a...
Yeah, rarely do you like, I was Bob.
I was Bob the plumber,
and I was a plumber, and I dealt with drains until I hit my head on a drain, and now.
Well, and I had an experience with this the Arthurian archetypical thing, and so yes, if you feel connected to these big signature legends or historical figures, it's because your soul is gravitating to the lessons that they learned, and a lot of times I find. Yes, and we don't understand how things work on this plane of existence. But what I will say is honor the archetypical pattern or legend or story, because you might not have been Lancelot, but in a past life or in a karmic tie, you might have had a love triangle thing, and you broke your kingdom, your household, because you went to the grass is greener. That's the Lancelot, Guinevere, Arthur kind of archetype, right?
Yeah, and the archetypes draw us to storytelling,
because
which is why
it helps us heal.
Yes, we get that. We figure out the pattern, right? When you see a story, stories are very formulaic in nature. Matter of fact, when you really start to delve into storytelling, you can understand the patterns and you recognize them in a story, and you see why stories are amazing. Some of them are really impactful, and other ones aren't so impactful. They end up falling short. And once you understand the patterns, that's when you can get into that. So if you find yourself dealing with these archetypical things, whether it's a past life or a current thing, focus on the archetype and what the pattern of that archetype has to teach you. Now, as we get into
and how you want to navigate that archetype, right? Do you want to go in the victimhood of that archetype and become the villain, or do you want to take your power back, empower yourself through it, and become the hero? Those are the two. Are you going to become the protagonist or the antagonist in your own story?
Right, and to be honest with you, it really doesn't matter, because there is no story without both. Right, you need a protagonist and an antagonist. So you can look at this as yin and yang, positive, negative, whatever you want. The point being is we want to try to empower you today through our meditation to take your power back from the pattern. Okay, so what we're doing today is we're resetting patterns. And so I want you to, as we breathe in today, I want you to visualize whatever that archetype is that you resonate with. Okay, whether it's a past life or it's King Arthur and Guinevere, or Snoop Dogg and Warren G, whatever it may be for you. Whatever it may be for you, visualize that archetype, man.
Or Woody and Bo Peep.
Yeah, Woody and Bo Peep, sure. Just visualize it, right? I want you to breathe in that visualization, okay? Then hold the breath and sit with that visualization. And then once you've come up with the new pattern that you want to restore, then I want you to exhale with the new archetype, right? So we're essentially bringing in the past archetype. And we are exhaling into the new archetype. So I want you to visualize 2 archetypes. One, the one that you're currently dealing with that you're ready to let go of. And number 2, the one that you are looking to embody moving forward.
I'm seeing the meditation come through right now. It's going to be quite interesting. Actually, yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. We're going to have a little fun.
Yeah, and it could be the same archetype, but maybe it's the archetype at the beginning of the story and the archetype at the end of the story.
Oh, wait,
Usually,
it'll go, wait till you see what's coming through.
All right, well, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. All right, guys, let's get into this.
Letting go of just a bit of logic so that you can see things in a more creative way. I want you to bring in those archetypical players in your life now. Maybe your mother, your brother, your father, friendships, relationships. Allow all these archetypical figures, these real figures, to show up in your mind's eye. All these players are pieces of your story with webs that you've woven and stories that were told and patterns that were created. Feel and see these patterns and webs now. We have heroes, allies, enemies, villains. All of these players in your life have played a specific role, and you have played a specific role for them. It is in your power whether these archetypes have caused you suffering, have caused you pain and victimhood, or caused you heroism and courage. As you connect to these archetypes, I want you to get into a sense of your own self, your own light, and allow each experience to start coming back to neutrality, to zero, without taking them so personally and feeling completely suppressed and repressed. Coming back to zero, having new awareness, allowing the archetypes to be roles that help you on your journey, not avoid your journey. Each archetype, each pattern is here for your greatest evolution. Allow you to see your villains with different eyes, with a different perspective. Allow the heroes and allies to also come in to your perspective with new light. You are the hero of your own journey, of your own story, and you get to choose where the path leads you. You get to choose on which dynamics serve and do not serve, and how they serve and do not serve. Allow these archetypes, allow these patterns to serve you more instead of hold you back. You are the hero of your own story. Navigate your path with greater empowerment, insight, and courage. It is so. It is so. It is so. It is so. All the things that you are attracting in your life is what you're resonating with. And we can try to stop those things that we don't prefer or we don't like to stop happening, but that's not going to happen. More than anything, it's about the way you're reacting to it. When you go in and undo the trigger or undo the tension and the attachment and the frustration, what begins to happen is space. And then you can navigate it differently. So you are not suffering as much from these particular archetypes and patterns in your life. Instead, learn from each pattern as they are step, or a step deeper inside of who you truly are and that source, that authentic nature within. Do you have anything?
Yeah, so obviously today is our Insightful Saturday, and so as we have kind of unlocked this patterning, or another way to think of it is the algorithm that you have created for your own life.
Totally.
Once that's
such a good
unlocked,
word for that.
yeah, you get an opportunity now to do things differently. So don't be surprised if you have some interesting dreams this evening. Obviously, the third eye is locked around the dreams and the subconscious. So allow those things to play out, and you may find yourself having the dream, or if you've ever had reoccurring dreams, you may find yourself having a reoccurring dream, but you may have a little bit more power this time around. You may find that you're in this same circumstance in the dream, but it's not quite the same. You're not falling into the same pitfalls, and that's good. That's a good sign from your subconscious that you're starting to make progress.
And you might get lucid.
Yeah.
That's the best thing. If you can get lucid in that dream where you realize that you are in a dream, and realize that you have your power back. Every time you become lucid in dream time, you get more of your power back in your waking life, because it reminds you on that deeper level, that subconscious level, that you always have a choice. Maybe not a choice of what the dreamscape looks like, but you have a choice on how you get to work with the energies that are present. And that is true empowerment.
Right.
So tomorrow we are going to go to the crown. We are going to the beginning and the end at the same, or the end and the beginning at the same time. We are closing out the week of attraction. We're going to see what shows up for next week and what we're going to be working with. So you can join us live on Facebook, on my Facebook page, or the Golden Collective Facebook page. So you can check that out. We're going to do that live, or here on YouTube. And if you like what we do, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and
we're one subscriber away from 200 subscribers.
And ding that little bell, ding, so you get the notification that we are here to support you.
Speaking of support,
yeah,
don't forget the Golden Collective.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can always join the Golden Collective to get the type of support you're looking for. These are people who can help you through your process of opening up that third eye and moving into the subconsciousness. It is definitely tribe, and we're trying to hold the best vibration possible in the Golden Collective to support your growth.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for joining us today, and we will see you again tomorrow for Spirit Sunday. Have a wonderful day. Have wonderful dreams. We'll see you tomorrow. Namaste.